Hey YouTube, 3D Printed Life here with the Eclips3D update number 2. So today not a huge amount has changed, but enough to justify an update video. And also I have some, I guess sort of advice that I'm looking for from you guys, just any tips that I can get to help me design this a little bit quicker, a little bit more smoothly. Alright, so let's start with the Z-axis. The main thing, I fixed the name, sorry I put that in wrong. I accidentally had an E in the name before, and it is Eclips3D with no E. It's just like that. So that's fixed now. Thank you for pointing that out. So yeah, that was awkward. Also with the Z-axis, with the bed, what I've decided to do is basically decide the outer size of the printer based on the inside that I want. At least as best as I can, because I'm going to be ordering these parts relatively soon. But I mean, I can always modify it at a later point, but I would prefer not to. So what I'm doing is I'm aiming for a 210 by 210 millimeter bed. Reason for that is it's a little bit bigger than a 200 by 200. It should fit in a RepRap Mark II Mark III heated bed, and that's really the main thing. There's really no reason to go too much bigger, especially when I'm going for a quality printer here, not a jumbo printer. And it's definitely a lot harder to get good quality with a larger printer, so I'm going to just keep it sort of small. 210 by 210 is still plenty big. The 3-up right now is around 200 by 200, a little smaller than that. But there's plenty of room to work with there. So I think that an 8 by 8 inch build platform should be fine for most people. If you do want it bigger, well, you can always build it yourself. Just get longer extrusions, longer rods when you order your stuff, and go ahead, knock yourself out. But for the official printer, I think I'm going to stick with this size. And it also looks just a bit nicer at this size. It doesn't look as, I guess, spaced out as it did when it was bigger. Excuse me. Don't mind the fact that this is off-center. A bunch of my mates got messed up when I adjusted one of these plates, when I gave the plate a slight acute angle to account for any drooping, and messed up all the mates, so that's just not centered. Not a big deal, I'll fix that. So yeah, that was the main thing, changing the size and then the build size design. Also, at work, I had to do a little bit of calculations with lead screws and figuring out like loads. So I took the equations that I found, and I figured out that with the threaded rod and the stepper motors that I'm going to be using on the Eclips3D, the Z-axis with up to 5 pounds of load should be able to move at about 40 to 50 millimeters per second, which is freaking crazy, because right now the 3-up goes at like, I think 4 or 5 you can max it out at. So yeah, this is a whole lot faster. It will be about that fast going up, which is awesome, because that means that when I finish a print, I can have the code have it just send the build platform to the bottom, so you can easily take your stuff off, and it won't take too much time. When you start the next build, it'll shoot right back up and get right back to work. So pretty cool stuff. I was working a bit on the extruder gantry. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put the hot in the middle like this. This belt clears it. This is just a test piece to see where that belt would be going. The other two will be secured on both ends here, and they'll stop there, because this is where the belts get secured, since it's going to be an open-ended belt. And then really the challenge is just making it so that the motor fits on here. I'm probably going to get a smaller motor, not those huge 74-ounce-inch motors for the extruder. There's no reason to have one that big for the extruder. So I'll get a smaller one in here, hopefully a lighter one, and a little bit more compact, so that I can, so that I can hopefully keep most of the extruder above the rods to keep it from hanging off. Benefits of putting this in the middle will be that it'll look a bit nicer, of course, which is always important, but also the tip of the extruder will be closer to the pivot point, which is right in between these two rods, so that if there is any wobble at all in the gantry, any rippling, it will be minimized, because the distance is pretty small. How it is now, I believe it's only about 40 millimeters from the tip to the pivot point, whereas on the 3-up right now it's probably more like 60 or 70. So we could, in theory, cut any potential rippling in half, but because these are M10 rods, I really doubt there's going to be very much at all. The main thing on the 3-up that caused that rippling was the fact that the rod's bent. They would flex a bit, especially in the middle. So hopefully this will solve it. Also, I have a much more rigid and a bit of a wider wide gantry slider right here, so that should also help things out quite a bit. Much beefier, as you can see. And again, M10 rods here, so that should help. The bushings that I have, I tested a few of those. I test fit them inside a plastic, just inside a plastic ring to see how they would press fit in, and they press fit in really nice. The only concern would be taking them out if you wanted to upgrade your parts, but I will be thinking of that, thinking of a way to make it easier, or perhaps if I just include like a small, like almost a dowel pin, like an M8 or an M6 dowel pin that's maybe 50 millimeters long, just so you can put it in there and just tap out the bushings if you really want to take them out to upgrade your parts. For the motor dampening, I have decided that I'm going to go with the sheet here and then a sheet underneath the bolts. I think I mentioned that in the last one. And if that doesn't work, somebody, I believe Alwyn, sent me a link to some nice NEMA 17 vibration dampeners. I don't want to use them because they're pretty expensive for what they are. But if this neoprene foam doesn't dampen it enough, then I will consider that. And I think that's really it. So end stops I mentioned in the last one. It's coming along pretty nice. I would say that really this only has a few more hours of designing and tweaking to go before it's a sort of functional prototype design. Once I get it to be at that stage, the main thing really to do now is just this gantry. I will be finalizing the lengths of these extrusions so that I will get at least 210. I might aim for 220 just to be safe in case these ever get bigger. But I'll see what I have to do, how big they will be then. Because I believe right now it's only going to get about 200, so I might have to make it bigger. But I'll figure that out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments regarding the design, please do let me know. Any comments, suggestions are welcome, including any experiences with any other 3D printers that have similar mechanics to what I'm doing. That's definitely beneficial since I've only had experience with a number of 3D printers, including my own. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully I will get a nice real-life prototype built soon. I'm gonna guess I'll have one at least starting to be built in about a month from now, which should be pretty cool. So yep, that's pretty much it. I will catch you all later.